Trenton, let's go into our news of the week. And that is brought to you by Eagle Mortgage, eaglemortgagecompany.com. They're located at 114th and Davenport Street. They've been there for a long time. They've been doing mortgages for over 30 years. FHA, VA, and of course, conventional. So if you want to get a mortgage, go to Eagle Mortgage Company. They'll work with you and kind of counsel you and coach you a little bit and take care of the T crossing and I dotting. And if you're thinking about buying a new house, we know it's going to be another crazy market this year. And so you want Eagle Mortgage in your back pocket and on your side. You can find them online at eaglemortgagecompany.com. Well, Trenton, the big news this week, we had a big story in the newsletter this week about the 30-30-30 plan. And basically, the city of Omaha is embracing this plan, which calls for 30,000 jobs and 30,000 residents to be added to the urban core within...
by 2030.
30 years. Or is it I think it's 30 years.
By 2030.
Oh, 2030. Okay, that's right. Oh, yeah, because 30 years, we should probably add a heck of a lot more than that.
Yeah,
okay.
So we got 8 more years to do it. Come on, guys.
All right. So, but here's here's some interesting things to consider. The urban core is defined as the Missouri River out to 50th Street. And on the south side, it would be Woolworth Street. And on the north side, it would be Cumming Street. So it's a long rectangle. And it's a significantly populated area already. A lot of the major employers and institutions are there. However, since the mid-1960s, that corridor, the urban core, has lost a net of 21,000 jobs.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so what we want to do is not only get those 21,000 jobs back, but 9,000 more, and then, of course, add 30,000 people. Meanwhile, the area has already seen quite a bit of investment, right, in that area over recent years. So the thought is, okay, what do we have to do in order to physically fit 30,000 more jobs and 30,000 residents in that urban core? And as you might imagine, it means build up.
Yeah, and kudos to Mayor Stother's administration, the planning department, the planning board, the city council. Jay Noddle graciously heads the Urban Core Committee since, I think, about 2018. So they've been doing this for a long time. And the fruits of their labor, the studies and things they put in place, including the new streetcar, is moving right along, pun intended, and all the ancillary development that's happening in the Urban Core Committee, or in the Urban Core.
Yeah, in fact, one of the ways that the city and other interested stakeholders can make room for these 30,000 people and 30,000 jobs is to get rid of some of our surface parking lots. We've talked about this a fair amount over the last month or so as we've discussed the streetcar plan and all of the growth and development plans for downtown, midtown. But we have thousands and thousands of surface parking stalls that are not used even on the busiest workday in the urban core. And the thought is, okay, through the use of the streetcar, which will allow people to park in various places and go do things in the core, by putting some garages in strategic places, you can take most of those surface parking lot parcels of land and put buildings on them. I mean, if you take a surface parking lot and you replace it with a 4 or 5 story building, your ability to add 30,000 residents to the urban core starts to become doable.
There was a nice article by Cindy Gonzalez in the Nebraska Examiner, and they quoted Dave Fanslaw, the planning director, and he basically said, when we look at these areas, the plan is we need to build up instead of out. In other words, get density. And, some single-family residents and some people that have big, larger pieces of land and stuff may not like having an apartment complex next door to them or whatever. But it's important to either grow a city or let it decline. And so not only are you going to see parking lots get built on, you'll see some parking garages and things like that, and we don't know when it's going to be, but it could be another 10 or 15 years. But when there's autonomous cars that drive themselves and people share cars like they share other things, and there might be a pool of so many families that share some cars that drive around, and then those cars, when they can park themselves, they can park a couple inches apart. You can shrink some of those parking lots. And also through the miracles of technology and apps and all that kind of stuff, just think when you're able to say, where's the nearest parking spot that's available? And that way...
Smart parking.
Smart parking. And then also utilizing the parking spaces during the day for office dwellers and then at night for residential dwellers. I envision it. I'm not the guy that's designing the program, but I can see it working.
Yeah, I can too. And, you talk about the autonomous cars, but even in the more immediate times, the streetcar and some of the improvements we've made with Orbit and other planned transit things that could be on the horizon will make it so that you could have a decent percentage of people in that core who don't even bother to own an automobile. Currently in Omaha, that's not been very practical because the city has not reached that kind of density yet. However, here's a quote from a city document that was presented last week to the planning board I thought was interesting. It says, being able to live, work, and access education, healthcare, public services, groceries, and personal services without a car will save residents approximately $400 to $700 a month, which residents can then use for housing and other expenses. This makes market rate housing more affordable for a large segment of the population that otherwise could not afford the same unit while needing to own a car. So I think you'll see some of that. You and I both live suburban. We'll always have cars. We're car guys. But there's a subset of the population that really finds that urban lifestyle appealing. And Omaha has not been dense enough until recently to provide that. You're starting to see a little bit of that. Like, I can remember we talked on this show maybe about 5 or 6 years ago about a couple apartment projects in the downtown area that were actually being built with zero what would be accompanying and dedicated parking stalls. That's new for Omaha.
There's no question that the move of Mutual Omaha by 2026, having that 3-mile streetcar doesn't sound like a large distance. Even I could walk that. But when you
a good day.
Yeah, true. Depends on what I did before and how much I ate. But every quarter mile having a stop. And those people that live around Mutual Omaha and they're going to go work downtown, they can do a lot of things on and off that thing. I'm sure there'll be a place where you can put your bike on there. So different modes of transportation, it could work pretty slick.
Hey, looking at some other news items this week, the City Council recently approved $3.8 million in tax increment financing for a $22 million mixed-use building to be constructed southeast corner of 38th Avenue and Dodge Street. We've talked about it before when it was just in the planning stages, but it's got the green light now. It's a 6-story building, 131 apartment units, ground-level commercial space. We'll have to remove 3 houses and 1 small commercial building to make way for it. Should be a great, you talk about density on a public transit line. If you're trying to picture where this is, if you're familiar with that area, 38th Avenue, on the west side of that street is a Taco Bell. And just to the south of it, a block or two, you get into the heart of the Blackstone district. So it's right there on 38th Avenue and Dodge. And that'll be a nice addition. And then another interesting item looking further out west. You may remember we talked a while back about Streck Labs, nice company, employs 400 people with headquarters in La Vista, 117th and Harrison Street. They're building their own apartment complex. This is going to be 84 units, $15 million project, their own apartment complex. And the thought is provide subsidized housing for employees close to where they go to work. Well, that first building is really coming along nicely. It's the wood framing is going up, looks like about a typical 3-story apartment building.
Yeah, I've done a lot of work around there, and Harrison Hills Development, they have a big industrial building there as well. So it's a nice addition, and apartments are needed in that area.
So the legislature gave first-round approval this week to a legislative bill that would start what will probably be a very long process of hopefully building the 7-mile, 4,000-acre lake along the Platte River west of Gretna. So this first round approval, I believe there has to be 3, but many, many hurdles exist.
It sailed through though pretty well.
It did, pun intended. Yeah, sailed through.
Thank you.
Yeah, very well played. I don't know. I'm really hopeful for this. I think it would make a huge difference, but I just know there's probably going to be some environmental extremists that are going to come out against it. There could be some legitimate concerns about groundwater for City of Lincoln and City of Omaha water supply. We'll find out.
Start that hate mail coming. I want to state publicly that I am not a fan of the pallid sturgeon.
Well, I mean, I will say.
Have you ever seen a picture of a pallid sturgeon?
They
Jeff?
are ugly. Now we should save a couple, but I would have to agree that those things are not attractive. But the piping plover is way better looking than the pallid sturgeon, and they're important too.
Yeah, but they're delicious.
In all seriousness, I think this lake would be a great, immeasurably great thing for what we're trying to accomplish in the Omaha area. Would benefit Lincoln as well.
Anybody that goes to Okoboji or Ozarks understands what it could do, and hopefully it's not as seedy as the Ozarks. But
The Ozarks are seedy?
Well, if you watch the show, it kind of...
Oh, I see what you're saying. I thought you were talking...
Like the show. I've been down there. I actually like it, so...
I know that. I've been down there a couple times.
I'm going to get all kinds of mail this week.
I liked it. I saw nothing seedy down there. I mean, I saw a lot of drinking.
That's true.
And some things that happen when people drink a lot.
We have a lot of friends that go down there.
Nothing too seedy. At any rate, that is your news of the week, which is brought to you by Eagle Mortgage, eaglemortgagecompany.com.
If you like this video, be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons. And remember, Grow Omaha is not just media. This is a mission. We are trying to build up Omaha and make it an even better place. We can only do that with your help. Share this video with your friends, neighbors, and family.